Hi everyone, I'm here to talk to you about ATVs and how dangerous they are. My Facebook group is Quad Squad Saskatchewan and Quebec, and the Facebook page is MAQ People for Mandatory Safety Training for ATVs. ATVs, all-terrain vehicles, or quads, whatever you know them as. The reason for this is because my son Miles Denora Lebrec passed away from two traumatic brain injuries from a ATV accident he was in. He was not drinking, he was not speeding, he was wearing his helmet, and they were riding in daylight. His biggest problem was he didn't have any experience on an ATV. He was 24 years old and an avid dirt bike rider for a decade before. And because he had no experience and there's no mandatory safety training, he didn't know that riding an ATV is a lot different than riding a dirt bike. So he ended up having an accident and hitting a fence post. So 2.5 weeks later, he had to be taken off of life support because of his two brain injuries. So I have this Honda ATV litigation in retrospect, and we're going to start back at 1970 when the first three-wheeler was introduced to the United States and by Honda, because they're still today the biggest manufacturer of ATVs. And they had hired a man to evaluate the product, and they had only planned for a year on the first three. It was the first three-wheeler, and so it was not to be marketed. Now take this comment with some thought. It was not to be marketed as a motorcycle because motorcycles were perceived as being dangerous and ridden by unsavory people. Well, actually, ATVs are more dangerous than motorcycles because ATVs, you have to fight with them and you have to know how to ride them and shift your weight and shift your balance around in order to be able to make the machine go where you want it to go, because it will take you where it wants to go, rather than on a motorcycle you just go with the flow and you go along with the motorcycle, and you're actually, according to Johns Hopkins University, 50% more likely to obtain traumatic brain injuries and or death from an ATV accident than you are on a motorcycle accident. So that's an interesting piece of information. And so the first thing was when their guy in 1970 got on the nice little three-wheeler with the big fat wheels and looks like a toy and the nice long banana seat, he tipped over because of the way that it steers. So he suggested to Honda that they replace the fixed axle with the differential so that the rider could negotiate turns cleanly without lifting one wheel off the ground, which creates balance problems, and change the long banana-shaped seat to a saddle seat because he thought that the longer seat was a clear invitation for more than one rider, and that passengers sitting on the back would be at risk. Well, Honda told the guy that was too expensive to put on a differential and too late to change the seat length. So they weren't really taking that seriously, what he was suggesting. They did, however, agree to put longer foot pegs on the three-wheelers so that the people on the back would have a place to put their feet. So the next 22 years, although it was a business success for Honda, it was a human disaster for many Americans who bought ATVs. And Honda's marketing campaign for these ATVs is Safe Family Fun. And because they're such lovable looking machines, according to Honda, with their fat, mushy tires and comfortable seats, they are marketed as ATVs are a great way to play in the snow, Families can come out and play. An ATV where it gets you where you want to be. And mothers were a significant target of Honda's efforts. Mothers who considered dirt bikes too dangerous for their children were convinced that ATVs were safe because of their fat wheels, big seats, and tricycle-like appearance. So between 1980 and 1985, Honda spent millions of dollars driving these themes home to the U.S. public. The company was not unrewarded. Industry sales soared from 1980 to 1985. Honda still dominates the market and has sold in excess of 2 million ATVs. An insight of how all this could come about is captured by a quote from Soichiro Honda.